You can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I've been asking you that for like 10 minutes.
I'm trying to add everybody to the. I don't know. This is my first rodeo. I'm trying to add y'all to the stream.
And
Got you.
Hey yo, we did it! Oh,
We
we
in here.
did it!
Like swim well. Let's go.
Okay, let me see if it's showing up on Facebook. Yes, it is. Hallelujah! Praise the Lord. I can't
Yes.
see who is on here watching. So please, as y'all come in, leave comments because I really can't see.
Hallelujah.
Ooh.
Praise the Lord.
I'm sorry, we're starting late. We got to a late start. I apologize about that. But hey, Kayla, welcome to Diary Wednesday. Um, we just gonna get this thing started. First, I have Coach Jones in the middle. I have Hassan Smith, CEO of Hassan Couture, Bespoke,
culture, man. Culture.
Culture. I always do that.
It's all good.
Culture.
Culture.
loud,
Culture.
loud and wrong. That's the worst part.
Yeah,
Loud and wrong.
everybody says it. Everybody says couture. It's
It's
culture.
culture,
We're
culture.
trying to build a culture.
Okay, okay. Hassan Couture, Bespoke. So we're gonna go, in line. I'm gonna allow you both to introduce yourself. Tell everybody a little about you. We're gonna start with you first, Coach Jones.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm Jermel Jones. I am the head coach at Lyman High School in Longwood, Florida, just a little bit outside of Orlando. I've been coaching football for the last 18 years. I think this year will be my 18th year. Having the opportunity at coaching young men and coaching the game of football is more than about coaching X's and O's. For me, it's about making sure that we love on the young men that are in our care, and we do a good job at it. And so that is my goal. That is my life's dream to make sure that we take care of the young men that are in my care year to year.
Okay. And where can they connect with you at?
You can connect with me on Facebook, Jermel Jones on Facebook, and then on Instagram, Coach Jermel Jones, and I think on Twitter it's Jones Jermel on Twitter, and those are my accounts.
And Hassan.
What's up, everybody? My name is Hassan Smith. I am the CEO of Hassan Culture. Hassan Culture is a suit or bespoke suit company. We also offer personal styling, image directing, personal shopping, custom tailoring, all of the above. Anything that has to do with fashion, both for men and women. So we cater to anybody and everybody that's looking to basically upgrade their wardrobe. We also do wardrobe improvement as well. And just fashion tips. So anybody that needs tips here and there, we offer that as well. Um, so yeah.
Okay, so where can they connect with you at?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Y'all can connect with me on Instagram. My business page is Hassan Culture Bespoke. HASSANCOLATURE. Bespoke BESPOKE. And then also my personal is Hassan Smith. So HASSANSMITH. Um,
Okay.
and same thing on Facebook as well.
Yeah, same thing on Facebook, Hassan Smith and Hassan Culture Bespoke is the business page. Some of y'all should already be liking his page because I send all of my Facebook friends a request to like his page. So some of you should already be on there or have a request to like it. So if you see it in your notifications, go like it. Also, go follow Coach Jones and add Coach Jones because every day, see, I'm not faithful. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I try to post every day, but every day Coach Jones come with the motivational quote. So make sure y'all add him on Facebook and follow them on Instagram. Y'all already know what we're talking about tonight. This is part two of Vulnerability of a Man. If you watched part one, Hassan was on there. It was the start of it all. Now we have Coach Jones coming in because I had to switch things up, add a little twist to it. So first, I'm gonna start off light with y'all tonight. I'm gonna start off very light. I want to ask you both, to you, what does vulnerability of a man means?
We'll let Coach start.
I think being vulnerable means to almost be transparent. I think with a lot of men, it's hard to be transparent. It's hard to show a softer side because growing up as a boy child, we've always been taught that the way of a man is to be tough. You can't cry, not to show emotions much. And so when you get older and you are in a place where you have to be vulnerable, it's a little bit difficult to be vulnerable because all of your life you've been told a certain standard of a man is, hey, you don't cry, you don't show emotions much. And so sometimes it can be difficult to tap into that side once again you've been brought up, you've been taught not to show emotions as much.
I agree. I agree. That's definitely that's because I was watching I Am Athlete today, and they were saying that's what one of the analogies he used. He says that he has twins, and for his daughter, he, you know, addressed those emotions with her and let her know it's okay. But with his son, it's like you're a boy, don't cry, be strong.
True.
Hassan,
Um, Vulnerability for me means um, just being completely open and understanding who you are as an individual. The same way that we look at love. And before you can love somebody, you have to love yourself. Same thing kind of goes with vulnerability, where you want to basically do a self reflection of yourself and understand who you are. Because once you're able to understand who you are as an individual, then can you go ahead and understand and be able to be vulnerable with others. So it's just taking those steps to basically know you and be honest with yourself. And vulnerability is just, it begins with honesty. How honest can you be with yourself? How transparent, like Coach said, can you be with yourself? So to me, vulnerability is just a big box of being open with oneself.
okay, so y'all, you both gave two different sides of the definition. Coach Jones, you said it's more so it started as a child. Like I agree, it started as a child, the vulnerability in men. Hassan, you said it's first being vulnerable with yourself. So speaking for yourselves, how did you or are you currently at a place of being vulnerable? And if you are, how did you get to that place? We're gonna go a little backwards tonight.
Um, I would say that I got through that place through maturity. It was a place that I had to mature to, where I realized that it was okay to be vulnerable. And a lot of times when you're not at that place of maturity, it makes you feel that you can't be vulnerable. It shows a sign of weakness. But as we know, the word tells us that when we're weak, that's when God's strength is strong within us. And so, for me, it was more so of a place of maturity for me to get to where I could begin to show myself as being vulnerable, or not as strong as people thought that I was, because again, I was not relying on my strength anymore. I was now relying on the strength of Christ, and I think that. For Christ to come in to help us, we first must be honest with ourselves that it's not us that's carrying the load. It's Him that's carrying the load. He's the steps that we look down and we see the footsteps in the sand. His steps are the steps that we're seeing and not our own. And so for me, it was just getting to a level of maturity where I could show that I was vulnerable and not feel less than, or not feel that I had let down the man culture. I have to use my man sign word. I let down the culture of being a man,
Mm.
but more so I accepted the culture of being a man because we can be vulnerable as well.
Mm.
I agree. I feel like men can definitely be vulnerable. I agree. Y'all definitely have that soft side of you, whether y'all show it or not. I feel like is dependent on your comfortability with the person and the situation. So I agree with that. Hassan.
can you repeat the context of the question one more time for me?
So the question
I
is,
was distracted.
hmm?
I was distracted. Somebody that came in, so I was
Okay,
distracted.
so the question is, being that you, what's called? My phone. I'm sorry, someone called me. My phone is on do not disturb, so I don't
We on
understand
live. They
why.
can't be calling.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But my phone do not disturb, so I don't know why that happened. But sorry for that. The question was that do you feel that you're in a place of vulnerability? And if you do, how did you get there?
How I'm gonna answer that backwards. How did I get the experience? Life. Um, am I in a place of vulnerability? Yes. Is God still working on me? Absolutely. Because naturally, as an individual myself, I'm a complete introvert. So when you're an introvert, you're closed. And sometimes when you're an introvert, you're also closed with yourself as well. So with me, it's me just learning. Um, honestly, you know this, and I give credit to you. Ever since we had the first discussion about vulnerability, I would always tell people like I give praise to you in the sense of you actually helped me understand myself with that topic of vulnerability as a man. And I also challenge you to do after that discussion. I challenge myself to become vulnerable, to become more vulnerable as a man. So where am I in the current state of vulnerability? Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah.
Okay. I'm happy to hear that from both of you. Coach Jones, you said something, it's actually one of my topics. So you both can answer this. Do you feel that, okay, can vulnerability in God help with vulnerability in men? Because you did touch on God and vulnerability, Coach Jones.
I believe being vulnerable in God is really that first step. Because to show vulnerability, that means that you lose pride. And the Bible tells us that we must humble ourselves under the mighty hand of God, that He may exalt us in due time. And so for us to say that we're not in control is being vulnerable. I also talked about earlier when I answered the last question about that when we're weak, that's when He's made strong. And so a lot of times when you're a man, you've been taught again from a child on up, hey, you're the man of the house. You're supposed to be the one that takes care of everything. You're supposed to be the one that's in control. You're the one that makes the decisions. And then now you're in a position where you don't know exactly what to do. You don't know exactly where to go. And then now you have to surrender that control that you have over to God, so that God can guide you. And so I believe that um, being vulnerable to God is the first step for God to come into to us and change us and transform us as men.
Mm.
I agree with everything the coach said. Also, just to add a little bit to that, in terms of vulnerability with God, it's in order to know God, you have to know yourself,
True.
right? So having that vulnerability with God is you getting to know you. Because when you know you, you know God. When you know God, you know yourself. Because God is the one that basically shows you who you are, and reveals yourself to you. Yes, it gives us free will to basically do whatever we want to do, but a lot of times we all run back to God. So in order to be vulnerable, you have to know God. But then, of course, it's a whole different topic when you get into people that don't believe in God. But even though they might not believe in God, they still know that God exists,
True.
right? So just having that understanding that, okay, I want to be vulnerable, but you have to know God in order to be vulnerable.
Okay, so what you saying that I want to piggyback off of that. You said in order for you to be vulnerable with God, you have to be vulnerable with yourself. As a man, do you feel that? Because I remember I was going to this church in Tallahassee, and my pastor he wrote a book, and it's called Naked. And basically, the book is about being naked and honest before God about yourself. So, do you feel that as men, y'all are comfortable enough to be naked, not only before God, but before yourself? about your flaws, about your imperfections, despite what the world says about what y'all should be and what y'all should be doing? And both of you can answer this.
I will say uh, for a man that doesn't know himself, yes, it's hard to be naked, and I'm. It's hard for me to kind of speak on that because I'm at a point in my life where I know who I am now. When I didn't know who I was, when I didn't know who I was or who I am, it was absolutely hard to be naked. But now it's easy to be naked because I know I have that confidence in myself to basically be me. So being naked isn't necessarily a problem for me as a man right now. Um, yeah.
In your group of friends or the people you've encountered, can you say that you feel like that is an issue for men, for them to be naked and to be vulnerable? Because I know for men, it's easy for men to be like, hey, I'm going through this and this is going on. But for a man to be vulnerable to a woman, it's a total different dynamic.
Absolutely, absolutely. Me personally, like I've told you this many times, I don't necessarily have a lot of friends. The people that I consider friends are I call them brothers. So when you have a brotherhood, it's easy to actually have vulnerability because naturally with us men, it's natural for us to have a dialogue and say, "Hey, I'm going through this at home. I'm going through this. Oh, I just did this last night." It's not hard. It's not hard for us to really um, have that. A brotherhood is really basically a vulnerability hood in a sense, right? But yes, the dynamic does change when the opposite sex does get involved, and when the opposite sex does get involved, that's when the challenge really does begin, as in becoming naked as a man.
Hmm.
Honestly, I think that's it's more of a challenge when the opposite sex does get involved for a man to be naked than it is for same sex in terms of men being vulnerable with each other. Um, so yeah, I don't know what Coach thinks about that.
Yeah, because you
I
know,
think it.
coach, you seasoned, so I want to know what you gotta say.
I think it goes back again to maturity, and getting to a level of maturity to be able to be naked before God and before people. Um, Paul says that when I was a child, I spake as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. And so
Mm.
I think that is again a part of being vulnerable. When I was a child, when I wasn't mature enough, I wasn't able to get naked in front of God. I wasn't able to tell God that the things that I was struggling with, the things that I was doing that wasn't quite right. But when I came to a level of maturity and knew that God loved me and God cared about me and know He wanted what was best for me, then it was easy to have that conversation. And even if we think about all of our relationships with our parents, it's the same way. The first time we had sex or the first time we may have took a drink, we were very, very afraid to have that conversation. But when we got to a level of maturity where we could have that conversation with our parents, that level of nakedness, where I'm like, hey mom, I messed up, I did something that I shouldn't do. But that took a level of maturity to have that conversation with our parents. And I think that once we mature, and it may not be as an age mature, but it's a spiritually type of mature, that we can begin to have those conversations with God and be naked in front of God. I also think too, when we're talking about adding the opposite sex to the word, to that word
Yeah.
again,
Never been naked.
being naked, we're
Yeah.
we're how can we let our spouse know, how can we let our partners know that hey, we're not as strong as they think we are. Hey, they have
Hmm.
a place in their mind where they feel we are, and you know what, hey, we're not at that level right now. We're mentally not strong enough. We're mentally not strong enough to battle what we're going through, and it's hard to have that conversation with your spouse or with the female that you love, or girlfriend, that hey, I'm just not there right now. I'm not there. I may need your strength right now. I need you to pray for me right now. And so it's sometimes hard to have that conversation because you know what? Hey, I'm supposed to be the strong one, and right now I'm not the strong one. So again, it takes a level of maturity to be able to have those conversations with your spouse, with your girlfriends, or with girls that you call your friends, that you're not as strong as you feel you are, so that you can be naked to them in those situations.
I agree. I agree. It definitely takes maturity, and like Hassan, like you said, it takes knowing yourself to understand vulnerability, especially as a man. So y'all both touched on, and we talked about this before, how being vulnerable starts at a childhood. So at childhood, I'm sorry. So my question is, do you feel like this is something we've done as a culture? I'm gonna just be real. Do you feel like this is something we've done as a culture, or do you feel like this is something that was created by outside opinions and, let's say, statistics?
I, I think
Y'all
I
both
don't know if
going.
I don't know if culture's the right word. I don't know how every other black male was raised. I know how I was raised. Um,
So I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this.
I'll say this. Like in my house, vulnerability from a man's side of you wasn't shown in that way. And it could have been me in my own eyes
When you say
looking at my father.
when you say in that way, what do you mean by that way?
I'm trying to preference what I'm about to say.
Okay.
Kind of the way I saw my dad is that even if my dad was broken or if my dad was hurt, that I possibly, because the way he carried himself, I never would have known.
Mm.
And even us, when God blesses us or allows us to have kids, we're going to be in a place where, hey man, we're going to always want to put our best foot forward. Like, I've never seen my dad down. I never seen my dad frown. I always see my dad be in a happy and in a pleasant state of mind. And so when I'm looking at him, and he's always happy. I've never, and again, in him, he could be vulnerable. Him and my mom could have had conversations behind closed doors about how he was feeling, or the things that he was going through at that time. But anytime that he was in front of me, he's always shown me, man, hey, I'm strong. I'm going to love on people, and it doesn't matter how life is going. It's not going to affect how I treat you day to day. And so for me, I've never seen him technically, quote unquote, in a vulnerable state. And it doesn't mean that he wasn't in a vulnerable state. I just never seen him in that state, if that makes sense.
Mm.
And I'll
But
say
how
this
do
with my football kids, right? Every time my football kids see me, they see me smiling and they see me happy. They won't know anything's wrong with me, because for me, my joy makes them happy. So I want to be that man that they see every day that has joy, because my smile could brighten up their day. And so I try my hardest not to ever show them that I'm down or I'm upset, because you know what? My job and my duty is to make sure that I'm always taking care of them. And there are some days that I am broken, but I can't show them that I'm broken, if that makes sense.
Okay, so
okay,
I'm a
I'm gonna
Simone.
let you go, and then
Okay.
I'm gonna ask my question. Because
All
you
right, so
you just
Simone,
touched on something, and you open up a can of worms. You just don't know it. But we gonna get into it.
all right, so with based on what he just said, I would answer that question by saying, in a sense, culture. I would say culture is what has led it be so hard for men to be vulnerable, because, like he said, he never saw his dad um, basically be transparent with what he was
Mm-hmm.
going through, and then generations past. Back in the day, it was a man was supposed to be tough, right? Um, and being vulnerable was a sign of weakness to a sense, to an extent, right?
Yeah.
So with that, I would say vulnerability back then was more of a sign of weakness, whereas now it's like we're all human beings. We all bleed red. We're all like there's no man or woman. We're all going through the same things. So it is okay to be vulnerable.
Hmm. So, since you said I'm gonna come back to you, and I want both y'all can both answer this. But Coach Jones, you actually opened up into what I wanted to go into next. So I want you to be honest. Do you feel like being that your dad wasn't he wasn't really, we're gonna say, transparent, as Hassan said, and you really don't show that transparency as well to your students? Do you feel that that is, did you, so first, not stemming from your dad, do you feel like that helped you or that hindered you from that vulnerability and the understanding of it? And as you're doing it to your students, even though it's yours, to you it's showing them, it's bringing light to their day, do you feel like that's helping them or that's
So
hindering
so
them from understanding it's okay not to be okay as a man?
so when I'm saying that, my dad has like always told me he loved me, always shown me that he loved me. But to see him in a weak spot in his life, I can't tell you that I've ever seen him in a spot where I felt like he was weak.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I feel that it has helped me because of the position that God has placed me in. I think that when you are a man or a woman in leadership, it's not a place where everybody should always see you crying, or everybody should always see you down, because nobody wants to follow somebody that's always down. Nobody wants to
Mm-hmm.
follow somebody that's always crying. Nobody wants to follow that woe it's me. Nobody wants to follow that down or Debbie type of person. But it's more of a optimistic type of a spirit per se, to say, you know what, hey, even though this is happening in my life, I'm going to look on the brighter side of things and know that, tomorrow is going to be a better day. The Bible says that weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to look to the joy or the expectation of what God is going to do, even in the midst of this situation that I'm facing. And so I will say that he always told me he loved me. He always showed me that he loved me, and that was to me and all my siblings. But he always showed us how to be tough, or to be strong within a storm. And so because he was weak, it doesn't mean that he had to physically show us that he was weak in that situation. As long as God knew that he was weak and he was giving that situation over to God, that's really all it needed to know, that he was in a weak or vulnerable place in his life at that particular time in his life. So I feel that with me being a leader of young men, if I can show them I love them every day, if I can tell them I love them every day, and they can see through my actions that I love them, I'm showing them a vulnerable side of me, because most men don't say I love you, especially not to another man. So from them receiving love from me giving love to them by the things that I do for them on a day-to-day basis, I believe that it suffices. But I think that if they look at me as their leader, and every time something goes wrong, I'm down. They look at me as their leader, and every time something goes wrong, I'm flustered, I'm out of control. Then when we get into a football game, or we get into a tight spot, if I'm their leader and I'm that way, when we get into a tight spot in the ball game, you know what's going to happen to them? They're going to fluster. They're going to unravel. They're going to fall out of control. And so I think my dad, throughout that process of being the man that he was, fortified me, or prepared me, so that when I would go through hard times in my life, I wouldn't be rattled. I wouldn't roll out of control, but I would still be able to be stable and be vulnerable to God, or be naked to God in that sense, but also still have a face that says, you know what, hey, we're gonna make it. I hope that answered the question.
That answered the question. But okay, so
Can
this is,
I make a comment real quick? So
yeah, 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 Smith, go ahead.
I want to kind of also reference you, just based on what Coach said. I also want to reference Superman, right? Because we all know Superman as the big macho type superhero,
Mhm.
right? But then what's his weakness? The kryptonite,
Kryptonite.
right? You're looking like you're looking like what?
I thought that was right, but I didn't want to be wrong on my
So
own show. So I'm like, hold on.
Superman's weakness is kryptonite. So it's like with how Coach described his dad in a sense was his Superman, right? But then when you realize that Superman also has a weakness, you're able to also still have a level of that kryptonite was a little I guess a symbol of vulnerability.
Mhm.
Would you
I,
agree?
I, I I would definitely say that, and I don't know if my dad listening, man. My dad's the best dude I know, and I think if I can be half of him, I can live a good life. If I can just be half of the man that he is, I would say that my life would be successful.
Amen. That's what's up.
That's so nice. Shout out to
Love my dad too.
Yeah, for the dads.
I got that out there. I wouldn't be the man I am if I wasn't for both my parents.
Both parents. Yeah, mama, don't listen to this. Mama gonna kill me. Mama, you too. You strong, girl.
He did just shout his daddy out. He adding you now, so get him, mama. Get him, mama.
Your mama.
I had to throw that in there.
So I have to play. I have to play I gotta play devil's advocate for a little bit.
Absolutely.
Since you referenced Superman.
Go ahead.
Since you referenced Spider-Man, you made me think of Samson and
Superman.
Superman.
Oh, my man, Superman. I'm sorry, y'all. Listen, my memory. I'm showing my age right now. Forgive me though. Since you referenced Superman, you made me think of Samson and Delilah in the Bible. Y'all know the Bible story, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what you said that was his weakness. So, Jesus. Thanks for the revelation.
I'm so glad you brought this up. Thank you. I'm so glad you bringing this up right now.
Because we talked about our parents and their transparency about vulnerability. So let's get into women. Sisters, I love y'all. Ladies, y'all know I love y'all. I love y'all to death, but I have to get into women because we are a big part of vulnerability in the men. So for those of you who don't know the Bible story, I pray I say this right. Samson and Delilah, we're gonna say they're two people that know each other. And
you should let Coach say this.
yeah, Coach, tell the story. Tell the story so I won't tell her. All I know is that she knew his weakness was his hair. They was trying to figure out his weakness. And once he figured out what his weakness was, she shared it with others. Well, Coach, you could go ahead. You know.
No, I was saying I was up to her off already, so we're in trouble. Samson was in love with a lady named Delilah. And she asked him, I believe it was 3 times, about tell me your weakness. The first time he told her something that wasn't true. The men came in to overtake Samson, and he was able to get up and slay everybody that came in. She asked him again. He told her something that wasn't true again. And then the third time when she asked him, he told her that his strength lied within his hair, that a razor had never cut his head all the years of his life. And when Samson went to sleep, she shaved Hampson's head bald and not like this, real bald, probably like this. Mine probably clean and shiny too. So, but she shaved Samson's head bald, and when she shaved his head bald, she yelled out that, "Hey, Samson, men are in here to take over me." And when Samson woke up, his strength was gone. The men were able to capture Samson at that time, and that later on led to Samson's demise. But within Samson's demise, he asked God for forgiveness, and when he asked God for forgiveness, God gave him his strength back, and he was able to kill, I think, more Philistines that day than anybody had recorded in the Bible at that time.
Okay, so I referenced Samson and Delilah. This is a little story time. I had a friend, and he had dreads, and he had dreads in his head. And every time he tells me this, it makes me think of this. He was dating a woman, or he had married a woman, and his dreads started falling out his head. It's not funny. It's not funny. I'm sorry. It's not funny, but it's funny. And it made me, and I told him, I was like, you sound like Samson and Delilah. Like, she's touching your hair and your hair is falling out. Like, what's going on here? So I reference that because as women, we don't truly understand the power that we possess when it comes to being a weakness to a man and his vulnerability. So that's why I reference that. So as men, and I know y'all are vulnerable. Coach, you're married, so you have to be vulnerable. How do you find balance in being vulnerable with your significant other without it being a weakness? Or
I think that when
attacked as a weakness. I'm gonna do the air quotes on that.
I think that when you're married and you're married to the right partner, I pray that every male that's listening is married to the right partner. that is listening. The Bible says that two twain and became one flesh. So when you're with your wife, I don't think that there should be a place of vulnerability. It should be an open air where you guys can be able to communicate about everything, because she's supposed to be your best friend. She's supposed to be that person that you can talk to. And again, I still think that you should be wise, with what you're talking about and what you're saying. But I think every marriage should strive to get to a place where there's an open way of communication within their marriage, so that they can have those conversations with their significant other. And with me being a pastor and doing like marriage counseling and things like that, one of the things we talk about is three C's: is compassion, compromise, and communication. And if a marriage doesn't have those three C's, then the marriage is going to struggle. And compassion means love. Compromise means that it's not going to always be my way. It's going to be one way. We're going to find a way to meet at a happy medium. And then that last word is communication. If you can show me a marriage without communication, I'm gonna show you a failing marriage. I can promise you that. If you got a marriage that doesn't have communication, it's going to be a failing marriage, because it's hard to be with somebody in a relationship like that and not communicate. And so again, I think it should be wise. Now, I'm not telling you that, you know, again, y'all preference what I'm saying. Right. I'm not saying that, you slept with Johnny and in the eighth grade, and you got to go back and tell your husband that you slept with Johnny in the eighth grade. We're not talking about that. Huh? I'm not saying that. You finna boil up some water that don't need to be boiled. You ain't got nothing to go in there. You ain't got to do that. Nah, you be wise. Okay. You got certain things that you can say that possibly happened in your past that can start up an argument that does not need to be started. And him knowing who you slept with in the eighth grade ain't gonna change a thing about what's going on right now. So you have to be wise about those things. But I'm saying we're talking about things that's happening right now in the present, in the moment. Being vulnerable in that state. Hey, you're going through something physically. Hey man, don't be afraid to talk to your wife, or wives, don't be afraid to talk to your husbands about going through things physically in your body that you possibly don't understand, and you don't know what's happening, because you know what, you may be going through those things, and you may be acting a little bit different, and he may not understand, or she may not understand what's going on, and now they feel that there's a bigger problem that's not the problem at all. But if you're not communicating, if you're not showing yourself vulnerable, you add room where the enemy can sneak in and begin to pull at the threads of your marriage, and then begin to tear it apart by us not being vulnerable at states.
Mm-hmm. Okay, preach, Pastor Jones. Hassan, you're speaking for our generation. Come on now.
Listen, I can't speak like Coach because I ain't married. I am not married.
But you've been dating, so we needed two different perspectives.
Yes. Vulnerability with the biggest thing when it comes to being in a relationship with the opposite sex is that having that open line of communication, right? That's where the vulnerability lies. But also being understanding with the other person and what they're going through as well. And if you're able to understand and accept what they're going through and who they are, then can an open line of communication happen and vulnerability take place. But without that understanding, it's almost impossible to really be vulnerable with the opposite sex. But going back to what Coach mentioned earlier, that goes back to maturity. A lot of it stems from having maturity. If there's no maturity in any type of relationship, it's almost impossible to be vulnerable. So when it comes to opposite sex, it's just a matter of just having that maturity to be to know who you are.
Okay,
I know
so
all over the place, but
No, you're okay.
No, you're good.
Me personally, I feel like everything kind of like connects. Like everything is very much so intertwined. Maturity, ability, openness, like it's just all together.
I can agree. I can agree. It's like a what's the word I'm looking for?
We're looking for it too.
It's there, but it's not coming. So I'm sorry. It's there, but it's like it's far in the back. I'm sorry, y'all. It's not coming to me. But just to pause everyone that comes in, make sure y'all comment if y'all have any questions, if y'all want to say anything. Please drop a comment, interact with us. You know, y'all can ask some questions as well. If y'all have some things y'all want to know about men and why they're not vulnerable, please comment because I'm trying to understand it. I'm trying to change it. So y'all dive in here with me. Men dive in here too. Say something. Let us know what y'all feel it is. So back to the reference of women. When it comes to women, do you feel that men are loved, seen, and heard? And y'all both said communication. So do you feel that you're effectively heard, seen, and loved based on the emotions and the things that men share with women?
At times, yes. At times, no. At times, yes. At times, no.
I agree.
Please elaborate. Like, what do y'all gotta say something a little bit more?
As we talked about earlier about, hey, I guess the persona of a man. I think that when we do break down those walls and we are vulnerable, or we show ourselves to be more vulnerable than what we have been, sometimes it's kind of hard to believe, I would say. Um, Almost like the little boy that cried wolf. It's like, nah, he ain't see a wolf, or nah, he's not hurting right now at that point in time. And I think too, some of it may be the way that we even perceive, our feelings of how someone should react to our feelings as well. But I do believe that it's about a 50-50 thing where, when we are being vulnerable, sometimes it's shown, I guess, in the way that we perceive that it should be shown, that we're in a physically vulnerable state right now, and how our partner should step in and help us. And you know what, it could be said vice versa the same way. Sometimes our spouses, sometimes women that we know are in vulnerable states, and when they're telling us how they're feeling at that point in time, every now and again, or more than now than then, we don't have the proper response. We don't respond the right way, in a sense where they will feel that their love, or that we're meeting their needs right now at that moment. So I think it will possibly even go both ways, about 50-50, where sometimes when women are being vulnerable, they don't feel like they're being heard by men, and when we're being vulnerable, we don't feel that we're heard by them, either.
Coach, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Do you believe in love languages? Do you think understanding love languages has a role to play with being able to be vulnerable in a relationship?
Yes, sir. When my first video, we talked about the love languages. I think it's huge. And if you hadn't took that test with your spouse, I think that you should, because a lot of times we try to show our partner that we love them, but the way that we're showing them that we love them, they don't receive love in that way. And so again, as me saying I love you, but my partner doesn't receive love in that way, it's almost as if I'm just doing something, and almost technically spinning my wheels until I can start doing the things that actually make her wheels spin, or per se.
Yeah, and then also a lot of times too, people show love based on their perception of love is based on how they grew up
True.
or how they were shown. What you see, and I always the saying that I have, I talk to my friends all the time, my brothers, is what you see is what you become. And a lot of people talk about breaking generational curses, but then it leads to, like, you have parents that smoke, right? If you see that, me personally, and I'm gonna speak on my behalf. Me personally, I don't drink, nor do I smoke. Growing up, going back to reference with my father, this is similar to yours, Coach. never have I seen both my parents drink alcohol. Like we would always buy non-alcoholic beverages in the house. Never did we have any alcoholic beverages. Nor did I see my parents ever smoke, nor even curse. Maybe if they did curse, it was in our native language. Besides that, nothing,
I can't
nothing,
relate. I
nothing,
had the
nothing like
opposite.
that. So with that, I didn't, I didn't have to worry about okay, like, am I going to become a drinker? Like, naturally, it was just in me. Now, my brother, that's a different story. But that's how I put up flow. I was just playing. Um, but in a sense, like, even though I didn't like what I see is what I became in a sense. But I still had that free will because I can still choose now to start drinking, which I just started dabbling. But I'm not a heavy like I hate the taste of alcohol, right? So going back to love and perception, what you see is what you become. So a lot of times people do show um, their version of love based on what they were shown growing up,
True.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's why it's very important with that question I asked you, Coach,
Mm-hmm.
to having that understanding
Yeah.
and basically having an understanding of the person's love language in order
Yeah.
to really show or be completely vulnerable
Mm-hmm.
with the opposite person.
Man, this is amazing. Me and one of my friends, one of my good friends, we just had that conversation about their parents and how their parents were very, very affectionate couple all of their life, and it's amazing. Again, as you said, people are their parents a lot of times where they take hold to those things, and it's amazing that we're talking about it right now. Me and somebody just talked about it probably about three or 4 days ago.
Yeah, and it's crazy to me how a lot of people don't understand the power of the eyes,
Mm-hmm.
right? A lot of people don't understand that. Like, I get dumbfounded sometimes when I see a parent smoking in front of their kids, and they don't realize that they're literally showing them. You can't show somebody this. You can't show somebody fire and then later on tell them, hey, don't touch the fire.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. So a lot of times when I see that, I'm just dumbfounded. But that's a whole different topic.
I agree. But for me, I didn't. My parents, definitely was cursors and drinkers, so I can't say that I didn't see that. But like you said,
Free
because
will.
I sat back and realized, okay, I dabbled in drinking, but then I realized that I don't like the taste of it. It's not something I desired, so I changed that. And I'm glad you said that we don't realize the generational curses that we have on us, because I listen to my friends and then I look at my life and I'm like, dang, I done shadowed a lot of things my mother and my father may have done. And now that I'm older, I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, Simone, you in this and you need to get out of this. Why are you in this? So do you feel that in vulnerability, addressing your childhood traumas and things that may have happened is a big part of that? Because I know for me, I had to address them.
Can you repeat that question one more time for me? You
So
were breaking.
basically, can you hear me? I'm still breaking up, or is it better?
You could.
So do you feel that for men, some men as a man, that you have to address, because you spoke on it, you said we don't realize the generational curses that we see ahead of us. So
Mhm.
do you feel like as men to truly be vulnerable to women, you have to address those childhood traumas or those traits, those cycles that you saw in order to understand, okay, I can be vulnerable, I can be open, I can show my emotions. It's okay for me not to be okay. Do y'all feel that that plays a part in vulnerability and breaking the cycle? Because we have to change the stigma. I'm gonna be real with you.
Yeah. I do think it is necessary to basically, I guess, make it. See, it's in the back of my head. It's necessary for us as men to basically attack or realize what we went through in our childhood and Because if we're not aware of the effects of our childhood, how it's playing a role in our life as adults, then we're choosing to be ignorant, right? Because the definition of ignorant is lack of knowing. You and a lot of times choose people basically choose not to pay attention. If I wanted to know what's going on in the world, I would turn the news on. But me personally, I don't like watching the news, so I don't really care. So I'm choosing to be ignorant to certain things. But a lot of times, a lot of people also don't want to open up a can of worms because sometimes people are comfortable with being comfortable. So with the life that they live, they've accepted who they are, right? And they don't want to make the change. So if they want to be hard, they'll be hard. If they want to be vulnerable, they'll be vulnerable. But they choose not to be vulnerable by choice. A lot of times, I feel like.
I've been talking about the Bible the whole time. I'm gonna pull out a little Jay-Z. You can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, but Jay-Z said, you can't heal what you don't reveal. The Bible tells us that for us to come to Christ, we must confess our faults. So we have to be vulnerable. We have to pull those things out, so that we can begin to heal on those things. And the things that we keep buried inside of us, oftentimes are the very things that eat us from the inside out. And I think that us being in positions where we know that we have to dig up some things that happened in our past so that we can heal. We have a lot of hurting people. We have a lot of broke people um, in this world today because they have things that have happened in their past that they have refused to, as Hassan said, they've been ignorant to. Hey, I know it's there, but I'm not going to go get it. I don't want to dig up that past hurt, but not knowing that past hurt is the very thing that's taking me down the road that I'm going on. And so I think that once we as a people start to realize that, hey, it may hurt me to go get it, but I'm going to be better because I went and got it. We'll be in a better position.
Say that one more
Now,
time.
and I'll also add to that in terms of like a lot of just not necessarily talking about vulnerability, but a lot of people are comfortable being comfortable. But growth doesn't come in a comfortable space. It comes from an uncomfortable space.
Mhm.
And a lot of people, that stems from maturity. Once you get to a place of maturity, you want to learn how to be. You basically want to accept being uncomfortable. Because when you become uncomfortable, that's when growth happens. And I had to learn that myself through life experiences and maturing as an individual. Whereas, like, okay, I realized, okay, this is my weakness. I have to be uncomfortable, and I have to be willing to put myself in this uncomfortable state in order for me to grow as an individual, and to be a better version of myself. And being a better version of myself is also knowing and understanding who I am as an individual and becoming vulnerable with myself in order to become vulnerable with others.
Okay, I agree. So I got a question. Do you feel that because for women we want the vulnerability, we want men to be vulnerable. I can't speak for everybody, but most women because I was talking to a friend today and he was like, yeah, women are emotional. Y'all are always in y'all feelings. That is true, but
And it can't be two of us in our feelings all the time.
listen, because y'all know we're emotional and we're in our feelings, why not feed those emotions with vulnerability? So do you feel that a woman can pull vulnerability out of a man, even though he may be stubborn or stuck in his traumas? Because for me, I'm honestly, I'll be real with y'all. If you can't talk to me and be emotional and vulnerable, I can't talk to you because Simone is very emotional. I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm very emotional. Yeah, forget the energy. I don't know. I don't know. I like to talk. As y'all can see, I like to talk.
Do you believe in opposites attract?
Yes and no.
Okay. Another question. Do you believe, which I've talked to you about this in the past, that women are logical, well, women are emotional creatures and men are logical creatures?
Some it depends. Okay, so yes and no. We're emotional when we're I'm not gonna lie, when we're in love, we're very emotional. But when certain situations happen, we become very logical.
Absolutely.
So I do feel like men are more logical, but if you know, but my thing is, if y'all know women are emotional, why be logical? That's my thing.
I got something to say. I think that when you have two people that are very, very emotional at the same time, I don't think you gain much ground. And so I think that when you have one person being emotional and another person being a little bit more stable or logical in that moment or in that sense, they're able to speak to the person that is being emotional and speak maybe a little bit more of hey, a sense of reality of where you are. So I think that sometimes when you have two people that are vulnerable at the same time, you get what I'm saying? One person could be needing love and care and information about whatever they're going through, but if both of us are and we're both going in and we're both vulnerable at that time, it's a hard sense to try to get the information that you need or get the stability that you need within that person if both people are emotional at the same time. And I kind of think about when I'm going to a funeral of a loved one or a friend of mine that has lost somebody, and I may be in a sense where I want to cry and I want to break down too, but right now they need me more than I need to break down. So right now I have to be the strong one. And so I think that when you have two people that are very emotional, sometimes you don't get the things accomplished that you need to be accomplished. So sometimes you say, hey, well, why aren't men vulnerable when the women are vulnerable? I don't think that all the time there's a sense where both of them have to be vulnerable. I think one of them has to be strong at times, and then the other one, again, when that one is vulnerable, the other one needs to be strong because we're playing off of each other or we're feeding off of each other. If that
There,
makes sense.
there has to be a balance. There,
Balance is
But
the
I
word I'm
feel
looking for.
like
there has
I
to be
feel
a
like
balance.
sometimes women are just the only vulnerable ones. Men, y'all will have like a 30 second. Y'all give us like a 30 second, a minute preview into your vulnerability. But it's like, who wants that little bit of vulnerability? It's not saying be emotional all the time, but show some emotions. Like, dang, what are you feeling? How are you doing? Like, how's your mental? Like, if you're saying you're okay, I'm okay, I'm okay, okay, and your
Mhm.
person, your friends, or your significant other knows you're not okay and you're refusing to be vulnerable, how people gonna be there for you?
So you asked the question: do you think a woman can pull a man vulnerability out of a man? I think yes, a woman can pull vulnerability out of a man by her understanding her man and
Mm.
her man understanding her.
Okay.
A man will become vulnerable to the right one as well, because not everybody is meant to come in.
Yeah, speaking that, he
That
just
goes,
he
that
just
goes back to wisdom, what Coach was talking about earlier.
he
Not
just
everybody's supposed to know what I'm going through because I can't show, just like with Coach as the head coach, I can't show my team that I'm going through it because I gotta be strong for them, right? Um,
preach.
Mm.
so with that, it's like yes, a woman can pull vulnerability out of a man, but it has to be with the right. It has to be yes with the right man or woman, and or just the woman understanding how that man is. And sometimes men just need space. Sometimes because a woman can be overbearing when it comes to emotions, especially when men are not emotional. But then it has,
I
but
got a
then,
question.
huh?
I got a question. I got a question. I
but
got a question.
but the same thing, it goes vice versa too. A man can also be overbearing as well. So it goes both ways. It's up for me. It's about balance, have understanding each other, and that goes back to love language, right?
Ooh.
Because for example, 1 pound of cotton and 1 pound of rock, which one weighs more?
Right.
Rock.
The
One pound,
cotton.
1 pound of cotton and 1 pound of rock, which one weighs more?
Rock.
They're both 1 pound.
Rock has got a heavier base.
Yeah, but they're both 1 pound.
We're gonna have to Google that.
Yeah, I'm like,
We're gonna have to Google that.
Rock is heavy, so
y'all gonna have to watch Wall Star Questions, Wall Star Hip Hop Questions. 1 pound of rock and 1 pound of cotton. Which one weighs more? They're both 1 pound. There's a balance. Yes, rock is a heavier element, but it's still 1 pound. If you put it on a weight scale, it's still 1 pound.
I got it. Okay.
So let's say this.
I'm gonna do an experiment for y'all. I'm gonna do a video after this tomorrow. I'm gonna buy some cotton. I'm gonna find rock.
Listen, just right? Let's just hypothetically say the man is the rock and the woman is the cotton. In a sense, 1 pound and 1 pound. It's like, okay, woman is emotional, man is logical, or man is logical, woman is emotional. But there has to be a balance, because once you put 1 pound of 2 different elements on a scale, it's gonna balance out. But if one isn't balanced, then that's where the chaos happens, in my opinion.
Simone,
you say you got a question.
I know you're the host, but I got something for you. If you're with a man and he's always emotional, can he lead you?
Define always emotional.
see, it's a catch-22 for us. That's a catch-22 for us.
No, you gotta give me a look. No, you gotta give me a little more. Like, is he always in his feelings, or is he's just very soft? Like, you gotta give me a little bit more.
You can't have your cake and eat at the same time. You cannot have your cake and eat at the same time. You say you want somebody that's emotional. Like, come on.
Okay. Well, let me rephrase what I said, because I said it wrong.
You still hadn't answered the question.
No,
can an emotional man lead you?
But is he always emotional? Is he emotional at different times? Like, what is it? Okay, if he's always emotional.
No.
No, you're gonna say I want more of a manly man.
This is my thing. I want balance, and this is my thing. Most other people I've encountered, they don't understand that you can have balance. They're always like, nobody want no hard roughneck every day, all day, 24/7. I understand you have to have balance, but I feel like some men, they get so, what's the word I'm looking for? Guarded, that they don't understand that they have to have that balance. So I'm trying to understand, how do we get to a place of balance? Because I'll be real with you, I probably dated maybe 1 or 2 people who balance.
Hassan said it earlier. The way you unlock it, you got to be the right one. When you want to unlock a man's emotional side of things, and he's able to show his emotional side or his vulnerable side, he's not going to unlock that to a woman that's not the right one.
But they'll unlock it to
and
other
you still
people.
haven't answered the
That
question.
ain't the woman that they want
You
you.
still haven't answered the question, man. You still haven't answered the question. No,
I thought I answered the question.
Can a man lead you? Can an emotional man lead you?
How emotional? Y'all didn't answer my question.
There's no levels to it. Just, can an emotional man, a very emotional man, lead you? Yes or no?
Very emotional? No.
Like, how about this? On emotional, on the level of the same way you say you're emotional.
Oh no.
Can you have? There you go.
No.
There you go.
Because
guess what?
Somebody to be like, yo, get it. I'm very, 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 very emotional. I could not handle somebody as emotional as me, but a great percentage of it, yes, but completely emotional, I am. I'm not lying. I couldn't handle me. I can't even handle me, so I can't handle someone like you.
All right, so time out. So now we're getting off topic a little bit, because you have emotion. Because you have emotions, right? You have emotions, and you have vulnerability, right?
Okay.
Emotion is something different than vulnerability. Because
I don't agree with that. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like being emotional is being vulnerable.
It can be one and the same.
That's how I feel.
It can be one and the same.
I feel like to be vulnerable, you have to have emotions, because
Of course.
vulnerability is being open to showing your emotions. Because when you're being vulnerable, what are you doing? Showing emotions, right?
Yeah.
Showing your feelings. So I
Yeah.
feel like you have to have emotions and know, like you said, but like y'all said, you have to be mature enough to know your emotions to be vulnerable. And I just feel like, I'm not gonna lie, some people need to take some time in knowing their self and learning their maturity to show vulnerability and emotions.
And
Oh, y'all trying to chew me out tonight.
no, we're not. No, we're not. No, we're not.
I just said no. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm ready for it. I
I
do
think I think a man's vulnerability or being emotional for me is more so tied into, again, as Hassan said earlier, about how you feel about that particular individual.
Mm-hmm.
And when I feel a safeness within you, where I feel that I can trust you, and I can depend on you, then there's a little bit more openness for me to be emotionally vulnerable in front of you. But if I don't feel that safeness and that security within that person, I can't be emotional vulnerable in front of that person.
And you can't fault, and you cannot fault a man for not being emotional with you, because that's a level of understanding for women to understand, and that goes back to understanding the man and or the woman.
So, question: could you be vulnerable with someone like Samson and Delilah? If you went through that situation, honest opinion, as a man, if you went through a Samson and Delilah situation, could you allow yourself to be vulnerable again to someone else and to that same person? That's the issue.
I don't get that question. What do you
So
mean?
Samson was vulnerable with Delilah about where his strength lies.
Mm-hmm.
And she used that against him.
Absolutely.
So as a man, do you feel that even though some men show their vulnerability or emotions to a woman and they use that against them, that they get comfortable to a place to show it to someone else or to show it again to that same person despite what happened? Because I feel like men get hurt, they're vulnerable to someone, and then they put up a guard, and the next person, they're just, even with women, we get guarded in our emotions and our vulnerability too.
I think you just answered your own question. You, I mean,
Y'all are different. Y'all are totally. I'm just gonna be. We're like, it's two different things. For women, it's easy for us to be like, okay, maybe we should open up, because I feel like if we don't open up, y'all not gonna open up.
Like,
so one of us have to give in.
So I'm gonna put my business out there a little bit, and this is something I don't mind doing. And I'm gonna use myself as a reference, because for me, with me getting out of a relationship, right? I was in a long-term relationship. I've gotten to a point where, and even I've made it known, I've gotten to a point where I no longer trust women.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to get into. Right? Now go ahead, Brother Smith.
So I've gotten to a point in my life where I no longer trust women. And what I mean by that, in a sense, because like I can meet you, I'll trust you. There's levels to trust, right? There's levels to acceptance. So when I say I no longer trust women, meaning what you give me is what I'm going to take and analyze you by. But I'm not going to go beyond what I'm getting. Whereas in the past, I was an open book, right? I was a completely open. I'm the type of person, I have nothing to hide. I'm just an open book, because Nobody's. I'm that confident in myself because I know at the end of the day, the only person that's has the power to judge me is God.
Okay.
So regardless of what anybody says, I do me, and that's the maturity that I have in myself. But now, I'm not gonna say but to kind of negate what I just said, but in a sense, like after certain life experiences, I'm at a point in my life where I no longer have. I can't fully trust women until one, either myself, I'm ready, two, healed, or three, with the right person. And I know the steps. So all of that to me plays a factor. With the right one, am I healed or am I ready? Coach?
Thank you, Brother Smith.
I,
That
I,
is
was,
what I
I want
was
to hear what Coach trying to say.
trying
No,
to
listen,
get to. That's
I'm
what.
mesmerized. I'm
Huh?
mesmerized. I liked
Thank
it.
you, Brother Smith. That's what I've been trying to pull up out of you tonight. Y'all will get hurt and get to a place if y'all don't trust women.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Brother Smith. Pastor Jones.
Oh my God.
That answer answered all the answers for, I think, for every man. That answer that right there sums it up for all men. Um um this is about to be pretty tough what I'm about to say, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I think a lot of times um like women's prized possession is their goodies, and a man's prized possession is his heart. All right, I'm gonna make sense of what I'm about to say. I'm about to make sense
You
what I'm
stop
about to
that,
say.
Brother Smith. You stop that.
And a woman shouldn't give a man her goodies until she knows she has his heart.
Mm. Say that. I'm sorry. Can you say that again? Because I'm about to shit
A
it.
woman shouldn't give a man his goodies, her goodies, until she knows she has his heart. Because where's his prized possession? His prized possession is not in his pants.
Mm.
His prized possession is in his chest.
Mm.
But
Mm.
when you get a man in a position where they've been hurt by a woman, his prized possession now, this is my prized possession. I have to keep my prized possession sealed, locked, and shut up now, because if I let it go again, it's gonna be damaged again.
Mm.
And so I have to be mindful of who I loan it out to or who I lend it out to, because this is my prized possession. With
Coach.
women being a little bit more of emotional creatures, they are typically a little bit more emotionally stable to love on men or to love again than men are. Once you love on a man and he begins to love you and he opens up to you, because a lot of us, it's a dog mentality now. We're gonna get it. And we're gonna get it.
Get it.
Get that bread.
But
Get
when
that.
you get this right here and that right there go to bumping, when you break that time, it puts us in a place now where, you know what, hey, I finally felt for one of them, and now I'm hurt. And so
Mm.
now I go back into a place of not wanting to be vulnerable, not wanting to be open, because my prized possession has just been broken. And
Mm.
my prized possession is now been taken away. And I think that you have some women now that treat that treat the goodies like the goodies. Ain't a whole lot of folk that got up in there now. And then you got some of them that, hey, that's their prized possession and they gonna use it. I mean, you see them all the time on they cars and riding in planes, and they got one boyfriend one
Oh
week,
no
another
no. Oh,
boyfriend another
oh.
week, and we're not gonna go there.
I
They
said
use their
period. I
prized
thought he
possession in
meant.
a different type of way.
Listen. I said period, but I thought he meant like using it as like keeping it to themselves until the right one come. I didn't know that's what he was gonna say. So don't assume that's what I'm gonna do. Disclaimer, because I just want to throw that out there. I was gonna say something else. But go ahead, Coach Jones.
So again, I think that when a man gets to a place where he's hurt or broken and he's giving himself like he's giving his heart, he's put in a really really tough place again when it's hard to love whoever's next, and whoever's next could be the right person, but they've been in that tough situation, and so it's hard to get them to open back up because our heart has always been our prized possession. You can have a man that can sleep with a million women and nothing changes about him, but the minute the woman gets his heart, everything begins to change. And I think with women it's a little bit different. You guys can love on men, but when you give them your goodies, that's you technically giving them more so your heart than anything else. And so I think that when you break a man's heart when he's not typically used to giving his heart away, it puts him in a position that when the next person comes along, it's a little bit more difficult to climb that ladder, because the first person had a tough ladder to climb too. But this ladder right now, it's going to be a few more steps to get to his heart.
Coach, I'm gonna play devil's advocate, and I'm gonna say,
yes, sir.
Women can also say the same thing in the sense about their heart as well, right? In terms of, because a lot of women are hurt, are broken, right? So because they're broken and they, in a sense, they end up using their what's in their pants, in a sense, as a form of love, to find love, right? I don't know. That was a lot.
I was told and taught that a man only thinks with two heads. I'm gonna be real. I was taught growing up. I was taught that a man only thinks with two heads. The one up here and the one. That's what I was taught. Everybody's different.
Everybody is different. Sure, very, everybody's different. But I still think that the way to a man's heart is not what's in his pants, and I think some women give it to men because they feel that is the way to their heart, but that's not the way to the heart. And the way to every man's heart is different, so there's no rhyme or reason what makes it. We talked about love languages earlier. What makes men go, or what makes them tick to fall in love with a certain or particular woman or not. And so I think that men's trigger is their hearts. And if you can get a man's heart, you can have it for a lifetime.
You got a man. And I'm gonna say this, going back to what you said, Simone, when it comes to men think with their heads here and down there. When you think about it, in order to think here, you have to think here. Your head and your heart is connected. Hence the logic, men being logical creatures, right? Okay. And then with women being emotional, y'all bring life. Y'all create life, so you need all that emotion to be able to create feeling, in a sense, I guess, right? So that's how I see it.
Okay, so this is my last question and my closing out question. How can we change the dynamic of vulnerability of a man?
I think,
and y'all can go through a timeline. Y'all could go from childhood to being with the woman. How can we change that?
I really don't think it needs to be changed, to be honest. I think that we all I think we all get there in time. I think we all get to a state of vulnerability within time.
Yes.
Within
everything that's worth having is worth waiting for. Time.
Okay, so question that I just since y'all say
you gonna let me finish my answer?
Oh yeah, go ahead. I thought you was going to Hassan. Go ahead. Please finish, because I got questions, y'all.
Again, I think where it is okay. Um, and we have outliers where you're gonna have somebody that is not gonna show any vulnerability or emotions at all, and you're gonna have people that maybe even more that show a little bit more. But as when I asked you the question about me about a man, if you would want a man that was emotional and emotionally vulnerable, and you said no, I wouldn't want that kind of man because I couldn't deal with that kind of man. And so I think that the way that God has created this earth, there is a non-emotional man, a sometimes emotional man, and a very very emotional man for some woman out there that can handle each of them. So I think that where we are is good, and as we grow, we begin to show vulnerability more and more as we grow, and as we learn. And I think, I guess, back to my dad's the scenario with my dad, and even though I said that he didn't show vulnerability much, as I'm growing and maturing, and as a man myself, I realized that my dad always showed vulnerability, but it was not in a place where I could see it with my natural eyes. Whose phone? That's Hassan's phone.
Yeah,
Hassan, that's Hassan.
it's,
It's not
sorry.
Hassan.
I'm sorry, y'all.
And
What
so
you?
that'll be my answer. Hassan threw my train of thought off.
I'm sorry, man. People want to
Yeah,
call.
yeah. Tell me anything.
I'm sorry.
So I gotta ask this. You said that you don't feel that it should change. So you feel that we should continue to tell young boys to be strong and not feel emotions at a young age and have them possibly grow into these men who can't properly address their emotions and be vulnerable.
I believe so, and the reason I believe so, because as a young man, a young boy is so impressionable, and with being impressionable at that young of an age, you can give the wrong sense to a young boy. If I have to get clear, I can get clear.
I got it, Hassan. Because I disagree, but Hassan, I'm gonna go ahead and give you the
What
flow
I don't
before
think I'm being. I don't think I'm being. I don't think I'm being clear enough.
Coach,
you're
quit
being
it.
clear, but no, he's been. I understand what he's saying, but I feel like we talk about stigmas and traditions that we create, but you can create that soft side in that child without doing too much. Because by not doing that, this man has to grow up and learn and say, okay, how can I be vulnerable? The Bible says, train up a child, and I'm gonna
In
let
the
you
way that he
finish.
should go, and when he get old, he shall not depart. But
Exactly. So
again,
if
Yeah,
you're training this
it is a
child,
man's job to raise a man. And
I, that is true.
if I'm raising him, if I'm raising a man, I want a man to be raised like like I am. I'm able to show vulnerability in the times that I'm able to show vulnerability. But if I'm too emotional, if I'm too vulnerable, then this young man that I got coming up behind me, he's gonna run into a woman on the street, maybe like you, that don't want a man that's very, very emotional. But he's seen his father be really, really emotional. And not only has he seen his father be really, really emotional, maybe he's taking his father being emotional as maybe even being feminine. And now he starts to take on different traits. And that's what I meant. That's what I was saying. I think you just have to be very, very mindful. When I'm raising a boy child, I want to make sure I'm raising a boy child.
balance.
I agree. I agree.
And
But
I'm gonna tell my son I love him. I'm gonna hug on him, and I'm gonna do all those things. But for me to show myself being vulnerable in a sense, I'm not gonna show myself being vulnerable where he's gonna see me crying. Now,
Mm.
something happens where there's death in the family. There's a chance, but he's not gonna see me crying because, hey, you know what, man, money tight, and we might be about to get kicked out of the house. No, daddy finna go out there and he gonna make some money. He gonna go to work. I'm not going to be crying about things like that because I don't want him to be in a position where he has a family and they're dependent on him and he's sitting at home crying and not out there working, trying to make it happen for his family. So I have to raise him to be a man, not a man that's going to be relying on his emotions, crying when his family need him to be working. Instead, he crying. Yes, sir.
And going back to what Coach said about is there anything different? Going back to your question, Simone, is there anything different that we need to do to basically see change and vulnerability amongst people? And Coach said no. It's perfect. It's good the way it is. That's what everything that Coach just said is just in a sense the law of the land.
Exactly.
Law of the land. There's certain things that just are meant to be. So why if it's I don't want to say if it's not broken, don't fix it.
It's definitely broken. That's why this is why I'm saying it's broken. It's easy for a woman to say, I'm not okay and go seek help. For men, y'all will sit there. Wait. Let me finish.
No, it's not.
Let me.
I know that by experience, but that goes back to maturity.
Let me finish. Let me just have a little feel. It is. I've seen that it's easier for a woman to say, "I'm not okay. I'm going to go," like postpartum, for example. A woman can easily say, "I'm going through postpartum, so I'm going to seek counsel so that I can be a good mother, so I can be stable." Even in other things, mental health. With a man, when it comes to mental health, which y'all are taught at an early age, be strong, don't cry, don't show emotions, don't do this. When it comes to your mental health, it's not easier for a man to say, okay, let me go address these things in me so that I can be a better father to my child, so my child won't follow in these footsteps. That's what I'm saying. And we disagree to disagree. Because the way I look at it is, I agree when it comes to bills, a man should not be crying. But when it comes to your mental stability, you should be able to emotionally say, I am not okay. And then like, okay, I'm not okay. Let me fix these things in me that are not okay, because men are not okay with fixing their traumas. That's the honest to God truth.
I agree.
And that's the problem.
There's levels. There's levels to it. Now you're going. I think you're going to more of a mental mental health, right? Because understanding mental health and understanding yourself as an individual, right? If you know what's wrong and you choose to ignore it, that's on you, right? A lot of people choose. If you choose to ignore it, then you're choosing not to be vulnerable. A lot of people choose not to be vulnerable.
Okay. I got a question for Coach Jones.
No.
Yes. I was about to end it, but you said what you said. I got a question. So, as you have been raised and you've seen this, because this is generation versus generation, y'all are two different generations. Let's just be honest.
Okay.
Would you be? And I want you to prove me wrong. I want you to prove me wrong when I ask this question. As a man, would you be comfortable going to therapy to address your traumas if you can't deal with them yourself? And I want you to be completely honest. Yes or no?
That's real.
Because this is what I'm trying to get y'all to understand in vulnerability. All of my, I'm gonna let you answer before
You
I
never
go
let
in.
me answer the question yet.
Okay, I'm gonna stop. Go ahead.
I'm trying to formulate an answer right now.
And once coach answers this question, I have a statement that's gonna basically
sum it up.
I want to say sum it up, but it's a statement that
would I go to therapy? The answer of would I go to therapy is yes. If I felt that there was something in me that I could not fix, I would go. And the reason I say that with counseling people and talking to people and working in schools, you know that there are certain things that begin to happen up here in people's heads that they cannot control. All right, and God is giving people the ability. He's giving people the knowledge. He's giving people the wisdom to be able to help people in those areas. And so if I was going through now, I'm not saying day one I'm going to the high. I'm not saying that. Like it might take me a while, but I would go.
So before you go, Hassan, I got one more question. Being that you said that, we're gonna go back to what you said. I asked you that question for a reason. So when it comes to vulnerability, I don't think we understand that your mental has, like Hassan says, y'all are logical. Then you follow with your heart. So if you're not mentally there to be vulnerable, how can your heart follow? So now my question is, if you're teaching this child to be strong, not to show emotions, in a sense of paying bills, they're going to think that it is okay when it comes to their feelings and expressing it to other people. So how do you expect, I'm just going to be real, being that you would go to counseling, how would you expect for a child growing up to know that you have to be strong and emotions are strong as shown, let's be real, being emotional as a man is shown as a weakness. So how can you expect that child that's taught be strong, don't show emotions, to think, okay, if I go through all of these traumatic things in my life and I can address them, it's okay for me to be, as a man, it's okay for me to be vulnerable and go to therapy. Or it's okay for me to be vulnerable and say that I can't handle this. If you're teaching this child at a young age, be strong, be strong, be strong, be strong, be strong, but you're telling them I love you and you're showing them love, there, I don't think some, to me personally, I don't think that it's a balance of understanding emotions and being strong when it comes to a man. That's just how because I be telling my friends, why won't you go to therapy? Oh no, I'm not crazy. I'm a man. I'm gonna get through this with all of these other coping mechanisms. That's not gonna help you or help your family or help the people you have to save. You're just sitting here bottling these emotions up because you're taught you have to be strong and therapy is for the weak.
I think it goes back to maturity again. I think that's a big word that we've been using tonight. Maturity, and also I believe that when the time is right for a child or a young boy that you're growing up and you're training, you begin to have those conversations. I think you have those conversations when your son is of age and you can tell him about certain things that happened to you when you were 15, or when he's got his first house or his first car and it's repossessed. You can have that conversation with him about how it made you feel when you lost your car. And me and my dad have had multiple conversations about certain things that happened with him within his youth, within him being older, and how those particular incidents made him feel. But me growing up as a child, I wouldn't understand those things. So first of all, I got to lay the foundation. First of all, son, you got to be a man. And when you're being a man, I'm teaching you to be a man so that one day you can run and lead your household.
Cool.
And so when you're running and you're leading your household, and as your son gets older, then you can begin to break him off pieces. That's like you're telling me right now, you got a 3-year-old daughter and you're gonna be talking to her about sex. She don't have a clue what sex is. You're not gonna talk to her about the birds and the bees until she's about 14 and 15. And now you can have that conversation about the birds and the bees, or how you lost your virginity. You can have that conversation with her, but you can't have that conversation with her when she's 3 and 4 years old. It's not time for her to have that conversation. So I think again with the boy child, it's the same. It's the same deal. When you're coming up, I'm gonna teach you, hey son, this is how a man is. But as he begins to get older, he's 13 or 14, and I see the hormones raging, and I see late night phone calls and light on, and wait, not come. I'm about to take the door off the hinges. I got to figure out what's going on in there. Let me tell you how it happened with your daddy, boy. I got to then talk to him about those conversations. And you need to get some little plastic too. We got to take care of some things. But I can't have that conversation with him until he's mentally ready to have those conversations and mature enough to have those conversations. And again, as he begins to grow and he gets older, then we begin to open up and have other conversations about more personal things, because now he's ready to have those conversations. But until he's ready to have those conversations, I think you still have to lay a strong foundation for him to be able to accept the responsibility of being a man and being the and we're not the providers, but being able to be a stability and a staple within your own family.
You have the floor, Brother Smith.
You talked about therapy. Everything Coach Jones just said is money on point. It goes back to timing. It goes back to timing, and then going back to therapy. I guess the statement or question I was gonna say was, do you feel Coach answered the question? Yes, he would go to therapy. Me personally, would I go to therapy? Yes. But then the statement I wanted to make was there's levels to therapy, because a lot of it, like for myself, maturity plays a role, because I know what the things that I'm dealing with and what I need to how I need to go about it. And then two, I have a close knit of circle of friends that I call brothers. Those are my therapy, right? So we all have different avenues of what we use as therapy. Of course, you want to go talk to a professional, and that's the question that you're talking about in terms of, okay, this person went to school and then they know the keywords, blah blah blah, to basically get this person kind of real in to kind of get to know themselves. But that's a lot of times the people that should or need to go to therapy is those that don't have the control or understanding of what's going on up here.
True.
For myself, I don't necessarily need to go to therapy in a sense, because I understand what I'm going through. So in order for me to kind of help me with that, I'm gonna actually go to my circle, go to that one person. Hence why it's important for us as men to have mentors. I personally I have multiple mentors. One of my mentors is 76 years old. You look at this man, he looks like he's 46. I have multiple mentors I can count on, and I learn and I see their lives and how they take care of their family and how they're men, how like all that. On top of the fact that I have a father figure as my father, but I also have a circle of friends as well that I can go to. That's my therapy, personally, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then going back to that question of why is it so hard for men to go to therapy? Um, One, I guess the question I want to ask is, do we think it's is it a race thing,
I
black versus white?
Definitely. I'm not gonna lie to you. If you look at other cultures, they they make sure their child understands their emotions and going to therapy. Because if you, I'm gonna be honest with you, I've dated outside of my race, and sometimes the emotional stability is the total opposite. And I would ask questions like, "Why are you so into with your emotions?" And they would tell me straight up, at an early age, my mother did this and my mother did that. And I feel like for us, we put out this stigma for a man to be so strong, but sometimes it can also be
It can
a
hinder.
burden.
It can hinder.
Yeah, a hindrance.
Mhm.
A hindrance. So it can also be a hindrance at times.
No,
Sorry.
you good.
It can
You good.
also be a hindrance at times because it's like if you can't I'm sorry, if you can't properly communicate or address these emotions, because my friends now they're going through all of these things, and to them drinking, like somebody lost, like one of my friends lost a close friend, and his mechanism is drinking
Yeah.
or smoking, and it's like to them I was programmed that I have to be strong, and I'm just like, bro, your mental health matters. Like, come on now. I can only take in your problems for so long. Like you can go to people for so long
Mhm.
until it just becomes so much.
See, and that's real, and that goes back to what I mentioned earlier. What you see is what you become, because and it's also become a cultural thing as well, where it's like in our culture today, a lot of people are very mentally unstable. So in order for them
Mhm.
to cope with what they're going through, they basically use coach. They basically use other mechanisms to
Substance
basically
abuse and other things.
and other things to basically deal with their mental instability. And I get what you're saying in terms of, okay, well, instead of doing that, how about you consider going to therapy and being vulnerable with your emotions and what you're going through as a human being, as an individual. I completely get it. Um, does that need to happen? Yes. But then is there other ways that can happen outside of just, oh, go to therapy, go to a complete stranger that doesn't know who you are, what you're going through, doesn't understand who you are, where you come from? How about you surround yourself, put yourself in a circle of people that do understand you, right? Go to church, find a mentor, find a support group, stuff like that, and that's gonna help you understand you. And then also life. Life, the best teacher in life is experience. Or I don't know if I'm saying that properly. Or the best teacher, the best experience. I don't know. Best teacher in life is experience, in my opinion. Um, so I just feel like, yes, I get where you're coming from, Simone. We need to go. Certain people that have that mental instability, instability, should go to therapy. But there's other avenues of um,
Therapy.
therapy to allow yourself as an individual to be vulnerable, right? And that's why I use
Mhm.
myself as a reference. I personally have another thing. Health is wealth. I'm big on fitness, right? I'm very big on fitness. When you're fit and you're doing activities and exercising, that also plays a role in your mental stability as well. In order to understand who you are as an individual, okay, this is my weakness. This is my strengths. This is what I need to do. This is what I don't need to do, right? That and then surrounding yourself with the right people, mentors, people you can trust, people that's there for you. A lot of people don't know the difference between a friend and a user.
Sincerely
And then
and manipulation.
also understanding people, there's people will come into your life are meant for you to be in your life for a season, and it's okay. You don't have to hold on to people. So
Coach Jones, you got something you want to say? You
No.
sit down, you sit back, just chill it.
Yeah, I was enjoying y'all for a little bit. No, I don't have anything. I think the
I
question
guess
was answered.
I guess we'll agree to disagree on some things. Um, I'm just gonna be like, I feel like
you can't win to lose.
I agree with y'all that certain entities does need to be instilled in the young man. But looking at statistics and mental health and numbers, to me, it can also be a hindrance. So, like you said, it has to be balance in it. And the reason I ask y'all if y'all feel that the stigma should change is because I feel like the balance is not there anymore. It's showing a man the difference between being strong and also the difference between vulnerability. If that makes sense to me personally, that's from what I've experienced. I don't feel like the balance is being taught anymore. So we some things do have to shift in a sense.
I will
That's
say
how
this.
I feel.
I will say this. Having discussions like this is does help. When you going back to your question of how can we change and change vulnerability in our, I guess, in our society, in our culture, is to have more discussions like this, so that to make people aware,
Right.
right? Because a lot of people choose to be ignorant, so we just have to broadcast it a little bit more. And kudos to you, Miss Simone Talks, for creating this platform to
Diary Wednesdays, baby.
to do that. You know what I'm saying? To basically broadcast what we need to work on as a culture. And when I say as a culture, not necessarily just black, white. We're all one family. As human beings, as a society, those are the things that we need to work on. And then the more we talk about it, the more we're made aware. The more we're made aware, the easier it is to take action and go from there.
I agree. I agree. Well, all month is going to be about. I know it's National Women History Month, but all month is about the men. I'm just going to be honest. Every Wednesday, I'm going to have
Approves.
two different men on here addressing different topics about men because y'all are the head of the family. So if the enemy can attack the head, then he can attack the structure. So I really want to discuss different things about men. So every Wednesday this month is 5 Wednesdays in the month of March. I counted them. Make sure y'all tune in. Oh, do y'all have any takeaways y'all would like for people, men, women, anyone to take away from a few things y'all want people to take away from tonight's discussion. I'm sorry.
Next time we on, y'all make sure y'all come back and check us out. Hey, my man Hassan, he has a clothing line, Hassan's Culture. Hey, check him out. I'm gonna be getting me a suit from him, so you're gonna see me rocking my suit one day soon. He told me he gonna take good care of me, so I'm gonna go get me a suit. But make sure you go get a suit. Make sure you follow his business line. My man be sharp with the suits. We follow each other on social media, and I am so pleased and blessed because I had an opportunity to work at the school which both of these young individuals went to, and to be online with them. It is a honor and a privilege, and the privilege is all mine because to see them grow into the man and to the woman that they have become. I am pleased to see these things and just excited about their future and where they are going to go. And I'm happy to be a part of it. If we're talking on here, if we're buying suits, whatever it is. So guys, I appreciate you guys for letting the old head come on and be with you guys. I told him earlier, one of the kids at the school said, I got the grandpa drip. They let Grandpa Jones come on here and
Hey,
be with
we
them.
might, we
So
might
I'm
change that
excited
grandpa
that
drip, though. We might change that grandpa
yeah,
drip.
we're gonna get some more grandpa drip for him
We gonna get some
coming
real drip.
soon.
We gonna get that real drip. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And another thing I want to leave people with. I am extremely grateful for Simone. And I'm extremely grateful from Coach Jones. I call him Coach Jones. And low, high key. I ain't gonna say low key. High key. He had played a tremendous role in my life, whether he knows it or not. With the transition of me as a kid in high school, and from a distance, he's a mentor. I don't think I've really ever said this to him, but you mentored me from afar. And sir, I want to salute you and thank you for being the man that you are, and being a great example to a bunch of young men in my generation, and in this life. So thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Much love, brother.
Love you, man. Appreciate you.
Love
Yeah,
you too.
y'all.
Miss
If you
Simone.
went to first coast, I know. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I said, Miss
No,
Simone,
go
thank you.
ahead. Oh no, thank y'all. Y'all came on here. Y'all took time out your very busy schedules to join me for vulnerability of the man, and y'all were pretty vulnerable. I can't say because that's what Diary Wednesday is about. It's about being vulnerable, transparent, real, and raw. That's why I said, and that's why I'm gonna contradict everything because I'm being real and I'm being raw. So, thank both of y'all. Like Hassan said, Coach Jones, he worked at First Coast. If you went to First Coast, then y'all know Coach Jones. He was everybody loved Coach Jones. Like everybody knew Coach
You
Jones.
better.
Everybody loved Coach Jones. He was like the glue that stuck everything together there. And I just want to thank you both for coming on. I hope all of you enjoy Diary Wednesday. Go connect and follow them. Coach Jones, like I said, he posts motivational quotes every day. I don't post them every day. If you need everyday motivation, go follow him on Instagram at Coach Jermel Jones or add him on Facebook at Jermel Jones. And if you're looking for styling services, image consulting, or nice quality suit, you do custom suits, custom. Like you're gonna be fresher than everybody else. Hit up Hassan. His Facebook is Hassan Smith. His business page is Hassan Coleture Bespoke, and that's also his Instagram. His Instagram, personal Instagram is Hassan Smith. Business Instagram is Hassan Coleture Bespoke. So make sure you follow both of these men. If you need a mentor or someone to talk to, I'm not going to. I'm a woman. I'm emotional. You might not want to talk to me, but you can reach out to them. You know, you reach out to them. And if you connect with me, I'm gonna connect you with other men. I'm not gonna lie to you. I've been connecting all these different people with the people that they need. So especially men, because I told you that I'm not a man. I don't know your struggles, so I'm not gonna act like I know what you go through. So I'll connect you with who I can connect you with. So if you need a mentor, if y'all need somebody to talk to, I listen. I'm still on talk, but I'll listen. But hit these two up. They are great, phenomenal men. One big thing I do want everyone to take away from tonight's discussion is that the true strength is vulnerability. That's, to me, being vulnerable is strength. Being able to show your emotions, being able to say you're not okay, being able to do these things, that is true strength. And y'all know I'm a mental health advocate, so find strength in vulnerability so that you can be right up here, because this is where this is the powerhouse to everything within you. It's your mind. So make sure you're taking care of your mind, your heart, your body, as they say, your spirit and your soul. Go to God, go to your friends, go to your resources. We're here for you. I'm changing. I'm telling y'all now, I'm changing the statement. So if you want to talk to me, I'm here for you. The devil not happy, but I'm about to step in this water and kick it up. I'm just gonna be honest. But thank all of you that tuned in. Make sure you like, make sure you comment and share this video. I'm going to leave it up. I think it's going to leave it up. This is my first time doing this, so I'm not gonna lie. But I will be back next Wednesday with two different. Oh, I'm so excited. Next Wednesday, we coming back for the men. Different topic, different guests. And thank all of you. Thank you, Coach Jones, and thank you, Brother Smith. No, thank you, Pastor Jones, and thank you, Brother Smith, for coming on Diarywednesday tonight.
All right. Hey, good night, guys.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. All right, Coach.
All right. See you, brother.
Yes, sir.
Hey, check your inbox too, because I messaged you early. I got to get your number.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Peace.